to infinity and beyond.
This is me. This is how I win.
Were you rushing or were you dragging? Answer!
You're a wizard, Harry.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you.
No, I am your father.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
And here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back inside the film room. It's been a minute. You can blame me. You can blame Johnny, but we are back finally. Zach Goins, Johnny Sobchak here for a big old episode of your favorite movie, TV, and entertainment podcast. We are talking about Marry Me. We are talking about Oscar nominations. We are talking about Super Bowl trailers and all sorts of other news that we have gotten over the past couple of weeks. Johnny, how thrilled are you for this gigantic episode?
Oh, I'm both thrilled and a little scared because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. But I'm excited because that means it's been a good news week, been a good few news weeks potentially. And while it's been a little bit of a downturn, I would say, with the movie going experience as of late, there's a lot to look forward to. So that's what's keeping me going at this time of year.
Definitely. I know we are counting down the seconds until we are seated at the Batman. So I know I was able to get, I don't think I confirmed with you, Johnny. I was able to get the Tuesday night IMAX early screening on March 1st. You did, right? In Winston?
Yes,
You'll be,
I'm 100%
secured.
gonna be there. It's secured. It looks like it's gonna be a sold out show. So I'm stoked. I cannot wait. I'm so glad.
I like set a reminder. I set a reminder for noon on the day that like was revealed. And then I was like caught up in some work. It was on like a Tuesday or something. And so I was like caught up in some work. And then I checked my phone during a break and it was like 12:24. And I was like, oh no, I missed it. And so like, I'm not like front row or anything, but I'm like I'm the in seat on like a far left. So not front, not like middle of the row like I would like to be, but to see it on a Tuesday in IMAX still, like I'm more than happy just to be able to get to check it out a little bit early. So
yeah,
it'll get the job done. I'm sure I'll be seeing it again. Maybe check out like a Dolby or another IMAX or something. But
for sure,
I'm fired up, and that, like you said, that's keeping me going here. We're a couple of weeks away from that. We've gotten a bit of a slog the last couple of weeks, which has been partially Johnny and I have had super busy schedules, so apologies for missing episodes, but also when it comes to missing episodes, we didn't miss much. We had last weekend, we had planned to talk about Moonfall. We had planned to talk about Jackass. I know I was on Moonfall duty. Johnny was on Jackass. You had a little bit more fun. Myself, I wish I was having fun. It was a movie about the moon literally colliding with Earth. Like, sounds like fun, sounds super silly and dumb, but it actually was a big letdown, and not in like the expected way. It was just like to try to be like, you've got one job when your movie is about the moon crashing into the Earth, and that is to make it like a big, dumb, exciting action movie that's so silly. Like, that's the premise. Like, you can't say that premise without laughing. And instead, they tried to over-explain everything. They took it too seriously. They couldn't decide if it was like a heartwarming family movie or if it was like explosions Michael Bay style, so left in no man's land, unfortunately. But today we are back with Marry Me, which is still in this middle ground here. We are not quite to the peak of cinema yet, but we'll be talking about that in a bit. I want to get the shout out, as always, for the Rewind newsletter. That has been lacking because we've been lacking, but it will be coming at you again with a recap of everything that's going down this week, this weekend. We'll have this podcast in there. We'll have our latest reviews in there. We'll have a recap of the Super Bowl trailers, what you may have missed if you weren't tuned in. So sign up for that to have it all delivered directly to your inbox. It's going to be at our website, on our social media pages. Very easy to sign up. And by signing up, you get entered in a lot of our giveaways and raffles. And we've got one coming up for King Richard, Oscar nominated film here. So if you need to catch up before Hollywood's biggest night, why don't you enter our raffle, win a free Blu-ray, and then have a movie night? But that was a mouthful. That was a lot. Let me pass it over to you, Johnny. What's been going on in the last couple of weeks as far as life, as far as movies, TV? What have you been watching? What's going on?
Yeah, man. It's been pretty low key. Like I said, not a whole lot on the new movie front. Went to see Jackass Forever, which was an enjoyable time. I had a good time with it. It was a fun experience with a decent crowd. I went opening weekend, so it was a good group, and everyone was enjoying it and laughing. And that definitely one of those movies where you wouldn't necessarily just throw it on at home and casually watch these Jackass stunts that are just so excruciatingly painful and gross and everything. I feel like it definitely works the best with a group of people, if not an audience. So that was cool. Also wrapped up my Batman retrospective. I was watching not all of, but most of the cinematic Batman movies. Started off with the first two Tim Burton films and then knocked out the Dark Knight trilogy. So we just finished up with the Dark Knight Rises, which is by far the weakest of the Nolan trilogy, without a doubt. And I would even put it below the two Tim Burton films as well, I think. It does not hold up very well, I will say that. And
what about with the Snyder films? I know we didn't have like a straight up Batman movie, but as far
that's the
as
thing, yeah, it's like impossible. I feel like it's almost impossible to compare. I mean, you can compare the Batmen in their like portrayals. I'm always going to go with Christian Bale. I think Christian Bale is a great Batman and a great Bruce Wayne. He's not perfect. He's not the most comic accurate, but he's just likable. And I feel like because you grow with him through those movies, it's just easier to attach yourself and find him as likable. So, and then went this weekend. I went to the theater, saw Dune for the sixth and final time in the cinema, and they brought it back for the Oscar run. Pretty cool to see. And I wasn't alone, believe it or not. There was a few other people in there, including a father and son, which I thought was pretty cute.
Did you tell if they were rewatch as well, or were they newcomers? What was the?
It was hard to say. There was a
experience?
couple behind me that was probably in like their like late 20s or early 30s, and they seemed like they were seeing it for the first time. Like it seemed like that they were kind of like surprised and like the way they were reacting and stuff. So I feel like it was probably a mix. And then last night I started off. This was yesterday, and then last night I'm rewatching the Planet of the Apes trilogy with my brother and his wife, because they haven't seen it in years. And of course, Matt Reeves, who's directing the Batman, directed the second installment and the third installment in that trilogy. So doing a little bit of a rewind with his films as well before the Batman comes out. And then as far as TV stuff, been keeping up with Euphoria, been keeping up with Peacemaker, loving Peacemaker, like very surprised.
So good. So
like
good.
Probably easily one of the best comic book movies ever. Movies. It feels like a movie at times. It is a show, and we may in fact be getting a second season. And then also Game of Thrones rewatch. We're in the home stretch. We have started season 7.
That's quick. I'm quick. I feel like
getting nervous. And Reagan, I'm watching it with her. She's never seen Game of Thrones, so this is the first time for her. And yeah, the cracks are definitely starting to show. Between Ed Sheeran making his cameo, the kind of crazier Arya stuff that's happening, and the horrible, terrible Euron Greyjoy character that is just so laughably bad, and just is so out of place in this show. It's just, I can't stand it. But there's still some good fun to be had, some great scenes, and some characters like the Hound and such are coming back. So it's we're there, we're still enjoying it, but season 8, there's still some enjoyment I think to be had in season 7. Season 8 is where it really is just almost irredeemable. So just remember season 8 episode 2, when we were getting ready for what we thought was going to be like the epic battle. Like that was a fantastic episode. I remember loving that. I can't remember your thought. I know Jake and I both loved it at the time, when everyone's kind of like
this is the end. Like we got
Oh,
to
the
say our
second episode of
goodbyes.
season 8. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, the second episode before
Great episode.
the Battle of Winterfell, and then even the Battle of Winterfell, the issues that it has, but the solely for the track from Ramin Djawadi, The Night King.
Yeah.
8 minutes of brilliance right there. So stay strong. I believe in you. I'm interested to hear what Reagan's thoughts are as you finish up.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll keep you posted for sure. Had to take a break this weekend because I didn't visit, but we'll be going back and heavy with it, I'm sure, before long.
Well, I have been doing some of the similar things as you. Peacemaker, my God, I love that show. Thursday mornings, like I wake up and watch it before work because it's so good. I'm sad it's ending this week. We've got the finale coming up, but it's just I was thinking this and I thought about tweeting it, but then I was like, I don't need to like this. To tweet this would just be like inviting unnecessary like beef and trolls, and like it would just be to stoke the fire. But like Peacemaker is better than any Star Wars or Marvel show that has been created so far.
Oh yeah, easily.
Like, I mean, the only Star Wars one that can really compete, we'll talk about Boba in a second, but like there's only two. It's Boba and Mando. And I think Peacemaker, just as far as like pure like consistent entertainment value and everything, has been
there's
fantastic.
no fat, like there's no like bloat or like excess with this show. It's so like carefully written and cut and edited. The shows, they don't stretch them out to an hour or even close to an hour unnecessarily. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and it's so much of the pacing and the humor and the action, and like it's literally just the Suicide Squad if you cut it up into like 20 or into like 30-minute chunks. There is no like sacrifice that has been made because it's a TV show, because it's on streaming rather than a movie. Like all of the action has looked great, the effects have looked fantastic, and I'm excited to see how this wraps up. So that's been a blast. I hope we do get season 2. We've heard James Gunn also has a second spin-off show from the Suicide Squad that he wants to do. So maybe that'll be like a King Shark show or something to explore his world. But I am loving Peacemaker very much. Boba, on the other hand, finished up this week after 2 fantastic episodes of basically The Mandalorian, in which we got Mando, we got Grogu, we got Luke Skywalker, we got Ahsoka, we got Peli coming back on Tatooine, the like mechanic. It basically turned into Star Wars the show rather than the Book of Boba Fett, because in those 2 episodes, Boba had a combined like 90 seconds of screen time, and then we had the finale where everyone, like the Jedis aren't involved, so no Ahsoka, no Luke, but like Mando's back, Grogu's back with Boba, with Finnick, and there's like a big climax and a battle on Tatooine, and the finale was better than what we had gotten. I mentioned it on the podcast. Those first couple of episodes were a drag, which was a disappointment for this character who is so highly revered and mysterious, and people wanted to know more about him so much, and then they kind of like over-explained his life, and it was like a little bit monotonous and boring, and just not what we pictured. And I mean, I'm not saying that as like I'm not upset about this. I just was indifferent. I'm not saying that as like a fan, like, oh my God, they didn't do this the way I wanted it and it's horrible because of that. But I don't want to go all scream on here. but
also, yeah.
But it was, the finale was, I would say, middle of the pack as far as episodes. It wasn't as good as the 2 Mandos that we got. But the whole episode was basically just this like climax, this battle. And the episode was like 50 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. So I wish it had been a little less of just action and more of the characters, which I don't know, can't win them all, but the Boba has been, I would say, widely regarded as kind of a flop. I know that there were the early rumors of Disney being upset with the numbers of people viewing and everything. It's got a 73% critic score and a 60% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is, I'd be curious. Let me pull up what Mandalorian has to compare. But yeah, 91% audience score for Mandalorian. So significant difference, 94% for season 2. So 30% swing right there. But you know, we'll see what happens with these Star Wars shows. They've certainly got plenty in the pipeline. They've got Obi-Wan coming up, which we'll talk about here in a bit. We've got some news on that, but the rest of my viewing weeks, I know I was on record a couple weeks ago for How I Met Your Father saying that this was a promising show. It showed potential, but I am now willing to adjust my outlook on this show and say that unfortunately I am very out. Him Yif is trash, to put it bluntly. This show,
No,
I was holding out hope because of my affinity for the original show, and then as cringy as some of the moments may have been, it seemed like, okay, there's like enough nostalgia, enough charm here to still make it worthwhile. But then this past week was the first episode that I was seeing like new versus like something that I'd gotten in a screener, and it was just like so bad, so cringy, and just it was rough. And I don't know if this is like me looking at the product but also not having like rose-colored glasses of like, you know, I've got this screener to a show that I really wanted to like, so like maybe I was a little lenient on it during my initial review, but now that I'm just watching it, I am adjusting, and I think that this is a disappointment. I'll see it through. I'm at episode 5 out of 10 at this point, so like might as well go ahead and see if they can turn it around. I'll stay committed to my shows, but not looking good for How I Met Your Father. And then I already talked about Moonfall, and I will be talking about Marry Me later in the episode. So those were my big screen experiences over the past couple of weeks. I need to get back on my Batman run here. I know I told you I was doing the not as extensive as you, but at least going through the Nolan films. I've got Batman Begins checked off, but I need to dive into the GOAT, The Dark Knight. So
yeah, those beautiful 4Ks. You gotta give them a look.
And I wanted to adequately space them out to lead up to March 4th. So
that's fair.
We will be back in the saddle soon enough. But let's talk about the biggest news. It's hard to say something's the biggest because it was such a big week. We're talking about a lot of big things. But earlier this week, by the time you're listening to it, I guess it'll be last week, but Oscar nominations were announced. We have our field set officially for the Academy Awards. We are going to go through, not necessarily category by category, but give you the brief overview, talk about some of our biggest surprises, biggest snubs, what we're thinking here. Johnny, I'm turning it over to you as our Oscar expert who made some fantastic predictions.
Yeah. This has been quite a journey, I would say. I mean, of course, I was writing about this into 2021. I was doing some predictions for Oscars, and then I did a more recent article taking a look at what I thought would get in, and honestly my predictions weren't too far off base. I according to Gold Derby, which is where I set my actual predictions in stone, I think it was like 70 or 71% accuracy with my most recent predictions. And overall, I think I'd say I'm happier, pleased with not just my predictions, which I did decently on, but what the Oscars actually ended up churning out as far as predictions go. Dune, of course, was my main priority and focus for this season. I was really hyping it up as a contender, not only just last fall before the festival started, but years ago when this movie was first announced. I was saying, this is going to be a huge contender. I think everyone's going to sleep on it. I know it's science fiction. I know it's going to be a blockbuster type movie, but I think this is going to be a Lord of the Rings style contender. Mad Max Fury Road contender. And lo and behold, Oscar morning comes around. I said 2 years ago that it would get 10 nominations, and it actually ended up getting exactly 10 nominations. Now, of course, that wasn't the most of the morning. The Power of the Dog, which has been a huge juggernaut this award season, ended up leading with 12. It pretty much overperformed and got nominations in all the spots it possibly could have gotten nominations, which was cool to see. I was a big fan of The Power of the Dog. I thought it was a really excellent film. I need to revisit it and rewatch it before the Oscars come around, but I was a big fan of it the first time, and I think it deserves a lot of the attention it's getting, even if I do feel like critics groups and critic circles in particular got a little too Power of the Dog centric, weren't really spreading the love as much as I think as they could have. Hopefully the Oscars will be a little bit different. But with Dune and the general kind of consensus in the discussion with the Oscars is snubs, and there was a tremendous snub on Oscar morning that has been talked about a lot.
Let them know, Johnny.
And since, and I'm not going to go on a big rant about it. It is what it is. Awards aren't the end all be all of anything. And Denis Villeneuve himself has gone on record recently as saying, I don't take anything for granted. I'm deeply happy with the recognition the film got. But Dune got 10 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. It got nominations in all the technical craft categories. It got adapted screenplay. But it didn't recognize Villeneuve for Best Director. How is that possible?
It's crazy that this movie was so fantastic without a director at the helm.
It's just, film is a director's medium, okay? No one is more important. I don't care what they say. Yes, there are situations where the producers take control. Look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That is a perfect example. This is not one of those cases. I mean, Denis Villeneuve, thankfully, gratefully, he was a writer on the film and he was a producer on the film. So he has 2 Oscar nominations for Dune, for adapted screenplay and for Best Picture. But as a director, I mean, the technical craft, the way he orchestrated every single department to work in concert with one another to perfectly bring this world to life, to bring Arrakis to life, to bring Caladan, Giedi Prime to life, and from the costumes to the visual effects and the sound and the cinematography that he created with Greg Fraser, and the performances, of course, it's a loaded cast, great performances across the board. How do you not recognize the man that's leading that charge? The captain of the ship, the general of this huge army. It just boggles the mind. And I like that Campion got nominated. I like that Steven Spielberg got nominated for West Side Story. I thought he was not going to get nominated. I thought he was going to get snubbed. Ryosuke Hamaguchi, of course, got nominated for Drive My Car, which I thought was fantastic to see. I was very pleased that he got recognition. But Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, I mean, I get that Belfast has been a primary awards contender and has been a primary player for Best Picture. But that film didn't even get nominated for cinematography, and it's a black and white film. Couldn't even get squeaked in there. It was said to be one of the top contenders for film editing, and it didn't even get nominated there. So if this film, you're saying this film wasn't one of the top 5 edited films of the year, wasn't one of the top 5 best shot films of the year, but Dune was apparently, and that's a favorite to win editing. It's one of the top contenders to win cinematography. And of course you have to recognize those individual, editors and cinematographers, but the director is always going to be a huge part of that, especially editing and especially the look of the film. And Villeneuve, if nothing else, is known as a tremendously visually fantastic filmmaker, from the designs to the way it's shot and everything. Paul Thomas Anderson also got in for director. Honestly, I was not a fan of Licorice Pizza. I think I'm a huge Paul Tom Anderson fan. I think he might be one of the greatest filmmakers ever. I think he's one of the greatest living filmmakers, greatest American filmmakers. Licorice Pizza is nowhere near one of his best works. I think Phantom Thread, There Will Be Blood, even The Master or Inherent Vice, I think are far better pictures. And I don't think that he should have been nominated for Best Director. I don't think Licorice Pizza is even, would not be in my Best Picture field. It's not one of the best 10 films I saw last year. I don't have an issue with him getting recognition, but I think that Villeneuve should have been in there. He should have been easily top 2. Certainly would have been my number 1. He showed up in all the major precursors he was expected to show up in, including Directors Guild of America. He was nominated there. He got nominated at Critics' Choice. He got nominated at the Golden Globes. It just boggles the mind. And so, yeah, I said I wouldn't go on a rant. I'm going on a bit of a rant, which is fine, but it is what it is. Overall, it's just an award show. It's a silly little event that doesn't ultimately matter that much. He's happy with it. The film got a great haul of 10 nominations. It's going to win at least a couple of those, could win as many as 4, 5, 6. Who knows? But ultimately, I'm not going to fixate on it too much. I'm sure he'll get recognition for part 2. Once that is released and is as amazing as we all expect it to be. Maybe he can even win. Maybe this will be a Return of the King sort of situation where that movie swept and got Best Director and Best Picture or something like that. But that was not the only snub. There was also a couple other notable ones, including a big one, Best Actress, Zach. I mean, this category is just...
Let me preface this by saying that a week and a half before nominations came out, like, this seemed like a done deal. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere, and then it became a lock, and then it became not a possibility, like, over the span of like a week and a half leading up to the nominations. But I told you guys, I like pulled up the betting odds, and I told our group message, I was like, probably just gonna like throw 5 on Lady Gaga to win Best Actress at plus 1,200 odds. Like, the way people are talking, that's an easy $5 to win 60 back. Like, I'm gonna do it. I didn't end up doing it, thank God. I mean, it would have only been $5, but still, like like, that's $5 I kept in my pocket. But to hear those nominations be read out for Best Actress, and what a field that is, just kind of all over the place. With, we got Jessica Chastain, Olivia Colman, Penelope Cruz, Nicole Kidman, and Kristen Stewart. So people were just fully anticipating Lady Gaga to be in there for House of Gucci and to potentially win. But what a snub that was, and there was quite a reaction to it on social media on Tuesday morning as well. Johnny, it was that I have not seen House of Gucci. I've obviously seen all of the kind of discussion around it, and like her going full method and all of these like different, the interview footage of her and Penelope Cruz her and Salma Hayek next to each other. And she's like talking about all of the techniques that she used, and Salma Hayek is just like rolling her eyes, like doesn't know what to do. Yeah. But you saw House of Gucci. You didn't think too favorably of it, but what is your reaction to this snub?
I mean, I think
is it even a snub?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a snub. I mean, this is just this category has been so bizarre. I think her performance was bizarre in a lot of ways. The film itself is an oddity, to be sure. But I honestly, all I could do is laugh. I thought it was hilarious that she didn't get in, because not only was she just campaigning so incredibly hard and like obnoxiously hard for this Oscar, but it, as you said, in that span of like a week, and as I tweeted this when it first happened, I was like, I think it's just so crazy that like a week ago she was not really looked at as like a major contender. It was like, she'll get nominated for sure, but I don't really see her winning, but she'll definitely get nominated. And then she got the BAFTA nomination, and then she had all the major precursors, and it was like, oh my God, she's going to win. She's like the most popular choice, it seems like she's actually leading the pack right now. And she became the favorite. And then less than a week later, she missed at the Oscars. Not like, it's one thing if she had gotten nominated and then like didn't win ultimately, that would be a whole different conversation. She didn't even get in. Like, it's just wild that happened. So all I could do was really laugh. I thought it was funny. I thought it was kind of like, don't ever campaign that hard. Like, don't embarrass yourself. Like, it obviously, I feel like it came off the wrong way probably for a lot of people. I mean, Salma Hayek was always sitting there probably like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous. But these actors are going to do what they want to do. But the actors branch at the Oscars, it's the biggest branch, of course, in the Academy. and they have a lot of pull, and so sometimes if they really just, if there's a large consensus that they don't want to do something, or they'd rather see someone else get recognition, yeah, you're gonna get duped. And that's what happened here. So it is what it is. This category is probably the most volatile and wild of any category, especially of the major categories this year. Could absolutely go any which way. And at this point, there's, of these 5 nominees, none of them were nominated at BAFTAs. None of these 5 are the 6 that were nominated at BAFTAs, which is usually like the best indicator. And none of them have gotten all, of course, if they didn't get BAFTA, none of them have gotten all 5 precursor nominations. So they could really go any direction. Kristen Stewart managed to get in. A lot of people were saying she's going to get snubbed. She's not going to get in. She's lost her momentum. She got in. Nicole Kidman got in. Olivia Colman. Those are seen as like the biggest names, of course, in this category. And then Jessica Chastain, she's trying to get her first Oscar win. And Penelope Cruz is she's a previous winner and has that pull as well, that international recognition. So who knows what's going to happen? I think Nicole Kidman is seen as like the predominant lead, just because it seems like she's probably going to win SAG. Kristen Stewart was not nominated at SAG, and so she would not have that momentum from that win. We'll see what happens, but it's fun to keep up with this kind of stuff. We also know there's another snub. This is more disappointing for you, maybe, Zach, but
I mean, not I don't even know if you'd consider it a snub, but the fact that Ariana Grande for Don't Look Up, like,
she was expected to get nominated,
right? Like,
pretty confident.
I feel like just the star power alone was enough to like have her beat, not for acting, let's clarify, this is for the song Just Look Up from Don't Look Up, but like with someone of that prominence singing a song, and like the song is good, like it's one of my favorite parts about that movie, if not my favorite part, but didn't get included there. There were some songs, let me pull up the whole list there, but I know there's one that I was very excited about getting in, and that was No Time to Die. Billie Eilish, saw her last week in concert. Wonderful, fantastic, love Billie. But it seems like that song came out so long ago, because it did, with all the delays for Bond. Like, she has already won a Grammy for that song because that was included in the last cycle, but because the movie didn't come out until this cycle, now she's going to win a Grammy in a different year that she could potentially win an Oscar. But obviously, Be Alive, the Beyonce song from King Richard, was known as a front runner. Dos Orgullitas from Lin-Manuel Miranda and Encanto got in. But then Down to Joy by Van Morrison from Belfast, I couldn't tell you what that was. I mean, it's fun because like the song that's known from Belfast is Everlasting Love when Jamie Dornan sings that. So, and then this other one, Somehow You Do by Diane Warren for 4 Good Days. I don't know what that song or movie is. Maybe I'm ignorant, but I figured with 5 options, I thought that Ariana would get in, but she did not. So,
hey, Diane Warren, that's Film Fest 919's girl,
right?
Man.
I know the artist, but I didn't know the song or the film there. So Film Fest 919 alum for sure. Shout out. But no love for Ari. But a couple other surprises. Was there anything that surprised you? I guess we could tie in surprises and happiest. Obviously, the Dune number is what you're happiest about, but there were a few others. Two that you had mentioned already that I want to touch on was in that Best Actress race, Kristen Stewart. She was like, from like last September, it was like, oh yeah, the race is over. It's Kristen Stewart's Oscar, and then kind of disappeared. And then, like you said, was able to get back in here. And I was excited about that. I enjoyed Spencer, and I thought she was fantastic in it. She was better than the movie overall as a whole. So I'm excited that she was able to kind of not fall victim to being overhyped as the front runner too early, but to actually find her way in. And then Penelope Cruz was one of my sleeper picks for. I voted for her for NCFCA and also for her co-star as a supporting actress for Parallel Mothers. But to see her get nominated and get some love there was a good surprise for me, and that made me happy. But other than those two and Billie Eilish, I know there's one that you and I are both excited about, but you even more so, I think. But anything surprising, happy that you want to touch on before we wrap up?
I mean, the main things here, number one, The Worst Person in the World, my number 2 film of last year, at least for the Oscar season. I absolutely fucking love this movie. And I was, I knew it would get in for best, international feature. I was not confident on it getting in for anything else. And so when it popped up in original screenplay, I was so happy. I was so shook. I felt like it was so justified. It was such a great choice. So I am very happy that that film got in and got that extra bit of recognition. And then kind of the same situation with Drive My Car. I really liked that movie. I thought it was a really fantastic film. And for it to not only get into, again, best international feature, but then you have best picture, best director, and best adapted screenplay, where I think it will upset and get the win. I mean, 4 nominations. I mean, that's a big deal. So very cool to see. The Academy is changing. The tastes are changing. The voting body is changing. It's getting more international, and I think that's great. I think that's better. It's more reflective of world cinema. It's more reflective of what we're actually watching. A lot of people, of course, it did really well with critics groups, but sometimes, and a lot of times, most of the time, it doesn't translate to the Oscars. So it was kind of a grassroots movement that got that movie into those major categories, and I was very, very pleased to see that, and it bodes well for the future, I think, as well.
Definitely. I know I was very pleased with Worst Person in the World as well. I wish that could have gotten into the Best Actress race, but not quite there yet. But I've got a little bit of homework to do still before we hit up the Oscars, because I need to still check out. I want to at least get through all of the Best Picture nominees. I haven't seen Coda yet, which was kind of an under the radar one that snuck in there. And then I need to check out Drive My Car. Still haven't seen that. And I would like to see Nightmare Alley, which is now on Hulu. So at least that one's easily accessible, more than Coda on Apple. I'll check that out. And then
this is
Nightmare
the first
Alley
time
on
ever,
Hulu.
I think, that the Best Picture at nomination time, when they've been nominated, they've actually been nominated and announced, where I've seen all the Best Picture nominees. And this is strange because it's in a year where you have 10, which is the most that there's been, in like a decade or more. So I'm pretty proud of myself. Definitely did put in the work this award season, especially with the North Carolina Film Critics Association voting. So I don't really have much to get caught up on, honestly. I mean, there's a few spots I definitely need to catch up, but for the big stuff, no, I'm already kind of locked in.
Yeah, it's been, I want to say 2019, or I guess the 2020 Oscars, I was clean sweep. And then 2020, I think last year I maybe missed 1 or 2. But I need to get back on my grind this year to finish that up. But any final Oscar thoughts before we move on to the news of the weeks?
Not really. I mean, again, I liked doing it this year the way I did. I had those pre-festival predictions, and I had the more recent predictions, and I'll do some more, like my final ones for actual winners, before the ceremony. But I think overall I had a pretty decent feel for like the pulse. 6 of the 10 predictions I had for Best Picture in August actually panned out and have gone all the way and been nominated. So it's a simple majority, but it's still a majority. So I'll take it.
We'll take it indeed. Look out for Johnny's final predictions, which will be coming sometime between now, and I can't promise a date yet, but sometime between now and the Oscars show. But let's get into the news of the week. Johnny, starting off with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Boba Fett is done and gone. Star Wars, Disney, Lucasfilm, they look to be ready to move on as quickly as possible, from what we previously mentioned was somewhat of a flop. And next up on the docket is Obi-Wan Kenobi, the limited series, bringing Ewan McGregor back, bringing back Hayden Christensen, taking place after Revenge of the Sith, 10 years after the third film. And between that and the A New Hope meeting with Luke Skywalker. So we've got bits and pieces throughout. We've got casting news, like Kumail's in it. Benny Safdie's in it, a couple other cast members. We're closing in here. We've got the date now. It will premiere on May 25th. So it'll be a little break between now and then. And that is the 45th anniversary of the release of A New Hope, when we first met old Ben Kenobi back in 1977. So a little bit of history there, but we've gotten a poster. We've gotten that premiere date. We are recording this on Sunday, then we're coming back into the booth Monday night to record our Super Bowl trailer reactions, and the podcast will be coming at you Tuesday morning. So there's going to be a split here. Maybe we will be talking about this again a little bit later in the episode when we talk about Super Bowl trailers, because you pointed out on Twitter, Johnny, that this timing is suspect, not in a bad way, but in a good way. That, okay, we're releasing the poster, we're releasing the date right before Super Bowl Sunday, right before the weekend, as Boba Fett is ending. Is this going to be a potential spotlight for Obi-Wan to make his debut during the Super Bowl? We'll see. We'll find out. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts here overall on the poster? Very Dune-inspired poster, I would say. Will this be one? You haven't watched Boba yet, but will you be tuning into Obi-Wan?
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars notoriously jocks, Dune stees on the regular, so no surprise there. But it's a pretty cool poster. It's simple. I like that. Good teaser. Again, I'm not a Star Wars fan. I really don't care, honestly, about a lot of the stuff that we talk about when it comes to Star Wars. The way this Boba Fett situation has gone down does not make me optimistic about this show, but it is Ewan McGregor. They're bringing back Darth Vader with Hayden Christensen. That enough is going to get people to tune in on this damn thing. If they drop a trailer today, today being Super Bowl Sunday, a 30 second to a minute, teaser during the Super Bowl, and they have Darth Vader in there killing people and doing some crazy shit. I mean, the Disney subscribers it's just going to shoot through the roof, you would imagine.
I mean,
so.
there was a quote, I can't remember who it was, but it was saying like, this Darth Vader is your Rogue One end credits Darth Vader. This is the savage beast mode Darth Vader that we've heard about in the original trilogy, but have rarely seen. So
yeah, I mean,
and also they said that the rematch of the century or something, it was some phrasing like that, between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader will go down. So yeah, tons of action is being teased for this.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I just hope it isn't like a complete nostalgia fueled entry. I just think that, I mean, of course there's going to be some nostalgia because you have Ewan McGregor, you have Hayden Christensen, so you already you have that expectation. But I hope that the story they're telling is fairly original, fairly like we're going to see some new worlds, we're going to see some new planets. If this movie ends with them fighting on a goddamn lava planet, or the show, I'm gonna fucking lose my mind.
I'm curious. So I want to dive into, not too extensively here, but I just talked about Boba Fett and the disappointment that we had with that. So how do we make sure that Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't end up like that? I think there's a couple big things that have to be done, and that, first off, Boba Fett, everything in the Star Wars universe somehow comes back to Tatooine, which is like always the boring desert planet that everybody talks about is not important, and it's just like this random planet, and then somehow everything always ties to it. Like Boba Fett all took place on Tatooine for this revered bounty hunter that traveled the galaxy and was like kicking ass and taking names no matter where he went, and now suddenly we're just dilly-dallying on Tatooine. So we know that Obi-Wan is in hiding on Tatooine and that he's going to meet Luke here, but we need to see Obi-Wan kind of go on these other adventures. We've only got 6 episodes, I believe, and it's just a limited series, but I want to see some exploration, some expansion here, and not just this is what a day in the life of Obi-Wan as he waited around for Luke to come of age, you know, because a lot of Boba Fett was just like flashbacks to fill in the gaps between Return of the Jedi and where we found Boba Fett in Mandalorian. So I need more than just like, you know, catching up on this, but I need like new adventures. What does he do, you know? And I'm excited for the tie-ins with Hayden Christensen, with Anakin. Darth Vader has in the lore of Star Wars, and we've seen it briefly in Rogue One, but he built a castle on Mustafar, the lava planet. So maybe, I know you just said that, maybe that will be where the confrontation goes down again, between the two of them. But I think as long as they lean into like really kind of taking this and taking it to new places, not just literally, but like metaphorically, and not just kind of retreading the steps of what Obi-Wan is doing. I think that there's some serious potential, like more potential here. I know Boba has always been like the revered character that everyone is obsessed with and wants to know more about. I never really had that experience with him. But huge Obi-Wan fan, huge Ewan McGregor fan. So that's enough to get me more excited about this on its own. So I'm holding out hope. I have high expectations for this to relive the glory of his character. So I hope it doesn't end up like Boba. That's all I'll say. And hopefully we will be talking about this when we stitch the podcast together. Hopefully we'll be talking about a trailer or a teaser or something here after the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's really all there is to say at this point. I think, I mean, you're spot on with that. I think they do need to break some new ground here. I know it's still, we're dealing with older, like legacy characters at this point, but you have to show me something more than just Obi-Wan and Anakin as Darth Vader, like fighting. Like I need something else going on. I mean, that can't possibly sustain a whole, I say a whole show. I mean, we're talking about 6 episodes ultimately, most likely. But we need, you know, something more going on and something satisfactory, not just showing us, oh, how did this thing Obi-Wan mentioned 50 years ago, how's that reference this?
Right. That's what we don't need. Like I was reading an article that was saying like Boba Fett kind of like took all of the things that you had previously known about Boba Fett and like explored them or whatever. Like I don't need to know like, oh, this journal was in Obi-Wan's home and Luke Skywalker looked through it. We don't need to know the backstory of the journal or something. Like don't just take Easter eggs from what we already know and just expand on them, but give us something new. And it seems like they could be, because I know one of the plot lines, one of the characters here is like the High Inquisitors in the Star Wars universe, which are kind of like Jedi hunters, which are from the Jedi Fallen Order video game, which is hugely popular from a couple of years ago. So hopefully maybe we'll get Obi-Wan, you know, in the fallout of Order 66 of the Jedi Purge. Maybe he's kind of like rounding up or trying to save other Jedis who are out on their own and trying to survive and being hunted down by these Inquisitors. So I think that would be a very cool direction to take this, you know, not like, don't just make it so heavily influenced by that video game where people have to know everything's interconnected, but instead just like this overarching idea of like a Jedi trying to reconnect with other Jedi versus just hanging out in his house on Tatooine.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, again, I'm not the Star Wars fan here, so I mean, I've said what I said, damn it, on Obi-Wan on this day.
You're standing by it. I appreciate that.
Fingers crossed.
I respect it. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. Another Super Bowl trailer. I'm a little disappointed in this, that it's a Super Bowl trailer, but it's being released the morning of the Super Bowl. So it's not that like shock value while you're watching the everybody be quiet, we have to watch this trailer. But instead, okay, we got the trailer for Nope, Jordan Peele's new movie coming out this July. And I guess in a way, I'm going to be at a Super Bowl party with some friends watching. So I was able to lock in watching this versus like having to kind of a lot of movie people that don't care about movies around me and them asking why I'm freaking out about it. But Nope trailer, what were your reactions? What were your thoughts? This was really a movie that we, beyond a poster of a cloud, then 3 stills from the film, and now people were still somehow able to put together a pretty reasonable plot from those 3 photos and the poster, and now we've got the trailer that somewhat confirms that. What were your thoughts here as we dive into the mind of Jordan Peele once again?
Yeah, I mean, we had to go off was the name and the cast and some of the crew, of course, and that great teaser poster. But this trailer we've gotten here certainly ups the ante considerably. I am unbelievably intrigued. He had my curiosity. Now he's got my attention, and I'm all for it. I mean, I love a good. It seems like an alien type movie. Seems like a sci-fi-esque movie. Twilight Zone vibes, which is no new thing with Jordan Peele, of course, but I think it's really leaning into that, and more of like a traditional horror terror style of filmmaking.
I mean, people literally went from, okay, we see this cloud in the poster and that's all we have to go off of, and then in the 3 stills, 2 of them were looking up at the sky, and then people were like, okay, Nope, all caps, and it's an acronym, it stands for not of planet Earth, we're getting aliens. And then you see the trailer and it seems like there are aliens. So brilliant detective work from the fans.
Yeah, there's been some very quick deductions being made, which is great to see. But this trailer, I thought it was just very well cut together. I thought it had a great intro, and I thought there's nothing that I would change about this trailer, really. It shows just enough, especially if it's what we would consider a teaser, and they're going to show more, down the road, have another more revealing trailer potentially, because this movie comes out in July. So this is a proper teaser, and we're probably looking at another trailer coming out closer to the film's release, if not another. And I can't wait to see more posters for this movie. I just can't wait to see what the marketing is going to continue to look like. I'm sure they're going to want to maintain that air of mystery. But yeah, I don't need to see any more. I mean, I'm sure I'll watch the next trailer when it comes out most likely. Might not even be able to avoid it, but I'm all in. I'll be there opening weekend, whether I'll be there in IMAX. It was shot in IMAX, so I'll go check it out there. Hoyt van Hoytema, who has shot Christopher Nolan's most recent movies, including Interstellar, Dunkirk, and Tenet. He shot this film. It looks gorgeous, shot on film, 65 millimeter IMAX. And the cast, Keke Palmer looks great. She, this is one of her first really big roles in a major film, at least leading the film. So it's cool to see that. And then, of course, Daniel Kaluuya coming off his Oscar win, Steven Yeun coming off his Oscar nomination. It just all the tools are there, all the elements are there. Just got to see the movie, and it looks like, again, this is a great summertime release. I think it's going to make a ton of money, and I think it's going to be fun to just be in the theater and see this with an audience.
This releases while I will be on my honeymoon with Rebecca, so I think
I'll have you covered then.
I know she's gonna have to. We'll have to find a movie theater in Jamaica or something. But wow. No, I will be checking this out as soon as I get back. But just looking at this trailer, I don't know if this is because there's a ton to dive into and to really be intrigued by, but maybe just because we've seen 2 Jordan Peele movies and we kind of know how he operates at this point with Easter eggs and kind of teases and stuff. But the thing that caught my eye the most, it's going to sound silly, but at the 51-second mark, when it's it shows the ranch or whatever, and then everything kind of the clouds are rolling and then they just kind of stop. And that's when it says from Jordan Peele, but it comes down, it rolls down from the top, and so it ends up saying Jordan Peele from. And I'm like, okay, something's backwards here. What are we dealing with? What does this mean? Is it Tenet? Are we going in reverse? Or so I don't know if I'm just overreacting to that or at all, but that was really something that stood out to me when I was watching it, that I feel like that's going to have some sort of relevance. So we'll have to keep tabs on that as we get closer and get more information.
Yeah, no, for sure. Some people point out it seemed like it was almost like an homage to The Shining because um, in the opening credits for The Shining, they scroll down from the top, and so it reads the same way where it says from Stanley Kubrick, but it's like Stanley Kubrick. So yeah, definitely some interesting details there for sure, and I'm sure it's gonna be loaded with imagery you can tear apart and symbolism and all that good stuff. So another reason to look forward to a Jordan Peele film.
Yeah, very excited to get the third film from him. So that is coming July 22nd, 2022. So not too far away. We'll be heating up with a great summer of movies. And another one that is coming out this summer, not quite a Jordan Peele level film, I don't think, but it'll definitely be a big hit at the box office. June 10th, 2022 is Jurassic World Dominion, the third film in that trilogy. And we have got the OG cast back. This is the Chris Pratt, the Bryce Dallas Howard trilogy, but Laura Dern is back, Jeff Goldblum is back, Sam Neill is back. The OG folks from Jurassic Park and the original trilogy are making their debuts here. And if you remember from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, where that leaves off is that the dinosaurs are free. They are entering almost in a Planet of the Apes way, where the apes take over in Dawn of the Planet. Or is it Rise or Dawn? I get the order mixed up. Dawn was first, then Rise, correct?
Nope.
Rise, then Dawn.
Rise, and then Dawn, and then War.
Okay, so Dawn. So this is a Dawn of the Planet of the Apes where the dinosaurs are running free. They're not in Jurassic Park, Jurassic World anymore, but they're in the world. And we've got shots of dinosaurs running down what looks like the streets of like Barcelona or something. We've got them in like the snowy mountains of Colorado or something. So they're all over the place. And I mean, I enjoyed the first one well enough, and then the second one was awful. Jake and I have a notorious podcast episode about that from back in 2018 maybe. But I don't know how to feel about this. The dinosaurs themselves, there's some spectacle to be seen here. Obviously, like the stuff looks good as far as like effects and big action and stunts. We've already previously seen that opening sequence, the prologue, but
right.
This was a trailer that revealed a little bit more. I'm interested to see how it plays out with this like nostalgia bait, with Laura Dern coming back, with Goldblum and Sam Neill. Like, I personally have still only seen the first Jurassic Park. I never watched 2 and 3 because I was kind of told that they were not as important, not as great. So maybe I'll check those out before this comes around just to have a little bit more context. But what were your thoughts here? I know you weren't necessarily thrilled to even get this trailer.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. You're right about that. I saw Jurassic World opening night. I've told this story before, but 2015, the night before my high school graduation, to make anyone feel either old or young who's listening to this. And I went with my friends. We're all totally amped for it, dinosaurs in IMAX. I mean, who doesn't want to see that? And yeah, we walked out of the theater, and I remember looking over to my two best friends, and we were just like, that was fucking bad. That was not a good movie. And I know some people like that movie. I think the general consensus is that it's better or more likable than the sequel, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And so of course that's the only time I've ever seen Jurassic World, and never saw it ever again. And then I never watched Fallen Kingdom, even though I have watched some like very funny, like kind of critical reviews of it, which have been interesting. And so I kind of have an idea of what the plot was like for that, how this movie gets set up. But I will say, I'll give it this. This movie, the trailer at least, this makes it look like the most interesting of the three. Because it has like a totally newer premise. Like, it's going global. You have these dinosaurs in all these different locations.
Right. I wanted to ask you, actually, without having seen the original second and third films, is dinosaurs in public, is that something new, or did they do that in the original trilogy?
So there's a part, it's a plot point in the second movie where they try to take the T-Rex to a new park like in San Diego. And when they get there on the ship, the T-Rex breaks out and it goes like on a little rampage through San Diego.
They're not on this massive global scale, but there have been
no,
like
that was one dinosaur in one city. So yeah, it wasn't quite the same. That's why this is seeming to be like this looks more like action, like a true action adventure. It's bombastic. You have the effects to do it, really well, I think at this point. It looks like the most interesting. But again, I can't say like, oh man, I can't wait to see it, or like I'm so excited about it. Because I'm just not. But if it gets like, maybe if it gets decent reviews, I hear like that it's actually pretty good or interesting from like people I trust. Like if you go and see it and say you like it, or like Jake or Josh or whoever, then I would definitely be more enticed to go to the theater and see it. But as for now, not even those older legacy characters can get me interested. I love Sam Neill. I love Laura Dern. Jeff Goldblum's always entertaining. But that's not enough. They're not superheroes. They're not like dragging me in there just off the character alone. You got to give me something more. So
there you have it, folks. Johnny is still the Johnny jury is still out. But moving on to the next trailer, which I know is one that you're more excited about. Johnny, talk to me about Alex Garland's latest about Men.
Seemingly, this is a true teaser. It's quite short. It shows virtually nothing, but it has all the spooky, creepy atmospherics that you would expect from an imagery you would expect from Alex Garland, who has done two of my favorite science fiction films of all time, two of my favorite films of the last decade or so. In Ex Machina and Annihilation. I saw Annihilation like 5 times in theaters. I could not get enough of that movie. I absolutely loved analyzing it and tearing it apart, and sonically and visually, just an incredibly designed and created film. So in Ex Machina, incredible kind of single location movie that really just ratchets up like the paranoia, and the visuals again are great, and that won the Oscar for best visual effects, which was pretty awesome. So this movie seems to be a more of a straightforward, I say straightforward, none of his stuff is straightforward, but this seems like more of like a typical horror film, and not like science fiction-y, at least from what we can see so far, even though I think there was rumors or hints that this was supposed to be science fiction in some way or form. We'll see if that pans out. But Annihilation, that was like a science fiction horror film. Ex Machina wasn't really a horror film, but it was more of like a psychological study. And this seems to be more in that vein. Again, it looks like it's really going to be focused on Jessie Buckley. Looks like she's going to be pretty isolated for most of this movie. I think this was made during COVID, like during the pandemic. So I'm sure he wrote it with that in mind. But I don't need to see, again, this is another one where I don't really need to see anything else. This is enticing enough. I get a little feel for the imagery. I get a feel for the tone of the film and Jessie Buckley's performance. And I was sold on it on paper. This looks great. It's coming out fairly soon. I think the release date is in May. So I'm super excited. We're getting something earlier in the year for this type of film. And it's from A24 as well. So can't go wrong with that. They did Ex Machina with Alex Garland. So already got that relationship established. So May 20th, I will be there again, opening night. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I'm not as excited as you for this. This seems like one I did love Ex Machina. I was a big fan of Annihilation as well. This seems a little, I know you said it was more straightforward, but still felt like a little out there to me. Maybe I'll get more context with another trailer. Or maybe I'm just being turned off by Jessie Buckley at being in I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which did not do it for me. And maybe I'm still having flashbacks from that. I know you love that movie, but just didn't do it for me. So my jury is still out on men here, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, with a track record of Annihilation and Ex Machina, he's certainly earned plenty of goodwill with me. So we'll see. But that hits theaters May 20th. We also have a little bit of casting news. We've got Zendaya, Euphoria star Zendaya, and Mike Feist from West Side Story have been cast in Luca Guadagnino's new film. Johnny, what's it about? Do we know? Do we even know? It's not the Bones and All, right? It's not Bones or whatever.
No, that's Timothée Chalamet. And God, what's the name of that girl from Waves? The main girl from Waves.
Taylor Russell?
Yeah. So Taylor Russell and Timothée Chalamet, they're starring in Bones and All, which is Luca Guadagnino's next film, which is already in the can and should be releasing later this year. But this is the film he's set to make, should be filming next month, supposedly in March. And I guess this script was on the blacklist. It was a hot script that was moving around. Luca Guadagnino saw it. They kind of got these different names attached, and it seems like they're going to fast track this one. This is the one he wants to make next. So it's called Challengers. The script is an original script, as we said, and it is focused. It's like a romantic drama, but set in the world of tennis. Mike Feist plays like the greatest tennis player like on the planet. He's like a huge star. And then his wife is going to be played by Zendaya, and her former lover and a fellow tennis player is going to be played by oh God, what's his name? Let me pull it up real quick. He's a fantastic actor. He was in The Crown, and he was also in a great film called God's Own Country. It is Josh O'Connor. He is a great young actor, like I said, and he is playing Zendaya's ex and a character. I think Mike Feist and him they used to be friends or something, and then like they went bad. So it sounds like it's kind of almost like a love triangle of sorts, but going to be a lot of emotional turmoil, I would suspect. I've seen bits and pieces of the script floating around because it is online, available for anyone who wants to read it, as a lot of blacklist scripts are. And it does sound pretty good. It sounds very don't want to say Oscar baity, but it seems like it's gonna have like an electricity to it as far as like the dialogue goes, and like the relationships, and like very meaty scenes for these actors to like dig into.
Is it Malcolm and Marie-esque as far as Oscar baity and meaty dialogue relationships?
From what I've seen, I can definitely see a little bit of that, but my thinking is that the tennis aspect, which I have not gotten into so much, will play like such a big part that like the relationship stuff, like this isn't going to be something where it's set like in a house and play out over the course of one night. Like this is going to be a pretty bigger style movie. So looking forward to that. I can't remember if Zendaya is supposed to be a tennis player or not in this. And that's how they like met and why they're all like involved or not. But that would be cool to see her like in kind of that setting. But Mike Feist, one of the pieces of the script I saw was him in like a glistening white Nike like tennis outfit, and like he's out there like getting ready to start this tournament. So that'll be cool to see him in certainly a different role from what he was doing in West Side Story. But I think will still fit.
We already know he's nimble enough to be able to play tennis. Yeah, his
skill set I think will be utilized very well here. So this could be, I mean, if they're starting to film next month, if they get this on a quick fast track, like a turnaround, this could be a potential awards player for this upcoming, this next year.
Right.
If it already wasn't busy enough, I could see Zendaya making a play, Mike Feist making a play, Luca Guadagnino, the film itself, the script. So we'll see what happens. But it's a fun combination, to be sure, of talent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down for anything that Zendaya is going to be a part of, and then Mike Feist has taken at least film Twitter by storm after West Side Story and being a standout there. So plenty to be excited about. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. And some more
prayers up for Tom Holland. Nothing wrong with him,
Mr.
but
Steal
his girl has to act and be lovers with Mike Feist and Timothée Chalamet this year. So
tough. That is tough for Spider-Man, but again, he's Spider-Man, so hopefully he is confident enough in himself and his relationship. But A couple more pieces of casting news. Barbie, the Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling film, has added a few co-stars. Simu Liu from Shang-Chi and America Ferrera will be in that. Do we have any details as far as who they will be playing? Or obviously Margot Robbie is Barbie, and I believe Ryan Gosling is Ken, correct? So
Yep. So no
I don't know
news
what
of
the
who
I
these
don't know what the
characters-
rest of the Barbie cinematic universe has as far as doll names.
Yeah, no, I don't think nothing to my knowledge. But yeah, no word on who these characters are going to be, but fairly bigger names, more well-known people. Of course, Simu Liu is turning into a huge star. I mean, he's going to be a big Marvel player going forward, and Shang-Chi was one of the breakout hits of 2021. So that's a good get for them. Also kind of diversifying the cast a little bit. Of course, you got Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling as the lead. So I think that with Greta Gerwig at the helm, I love Little Women. I love Lady Bird. Her and Noah Baumbach writing the script. I just can't wait to see what this script is like, what the concept is here. Because those are two great writers, both for original stuff and adapted works. So I think that's just, and they're a married couple as well. So the fact that they're gonna like take that chemistry and like that, those relationship dynamics and potentially that kind of mindset and perspective and bring that into the world of Barbie and Ken, I think that just with that, the talent involved, I can't help but have this as one of my most anticipated films for next year. I would imagine they're going to be filming soon, so there should be a 2023 release. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a huge Ryan Gosling fan as well, so I'm glad.
Right, we love the Goscott on this podcast.
He's working with some more great talent and in a bigger, high-profile role. So looking forward to this.
And one more or two more. Michael Mann making a Ferrari movie. Not Ford versus Ferrari, but another Ferrari movie. We've got Adam Driver, Penelope Cruz, and Shailene Woodley cast there. I have not heard much about this. I know this was kind of a recent development, but Johnny, enlighten me.
Well, it's not this casting news is a recent development, but this movie is something Michael Mann has been working on as a passion project for like 20 years now. He's really been trying to get it made, and it has yet to develop. Hugh Jackman was attached for the longest time as playing Ferrari in the lead role. At this point, I feel like they've maybe come to the realization he's kind of aged out of the role, and that's why they have now gone with Adam Driver as Ferrari. And yes, this is not a Ford v Ferrari situation. This takes place years before Ford v Ferrari. And Adam Driver, this is Ferrari still racing and driving. So that'll be really cool. Penelope Cruz playing the wife, and then Shailene Woodley playing a potential lover, maybe a girlfriend to Ferrari, someone that he's having an affair with. So this should be interesting. I think Michael Mann, he's a legendary filmmaker. He's not as prolific as he was back in the day with films like Thief and Heat, but he still has some gas in the engine. It seems like a gas in the tank. So.
Very nice.
Let's go ahead and let's see what he's got. They're going to be filming on location in Italy this year, it looks like. And Adam Driver continues to add to his crazy list of legendary filmmakers that he's worked with over the last decade or so. That includes Spielberg, Scorsese, among others. So I'm excited to see what this is going to look like. And again, could be a potential awards player, just like Ford v Ferrari was. And speaking about potential awards players for next year, 2023,
the rich keep getting richer here.
The cast that these ensembles continue to build, and foremost among them for 2023 is Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, led by Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer and Emily Blunt as his wife. We also know the rest of this cast is stacked up with Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Benny Safdie. It's an awesome list that includes Josh Hartnett. Others I'm sure I'm forgetting. But the newest edition, perhaps the last edition, because they are now filming, and I'm sure that this is the last person they are going to add. But it's Dane DeHaan of University of North Carolina School of the Arts alum. And he's probably best known at this point. He was in Chronicle. He was
great movie.
He was also, of course, Harry Osborn in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which maybe didn't go so well for him. I also really liked him in The Cure for Wellness, the Gore Verbinski kind of horror thriller from a few years ago. So he's got talent, but he's kind of been on a downward trend, I would say. But maybe working with Christopher Nolan, get some good energy back in him, get him in a high profile awards contender, box office contender movie, and maybe kind of boost him back into where he wants to go. So pretty cool addition. Good for him. Good for Nolan. Can't wait to see what this movie has to offer. Again, it's not coming out until July 2023, so probably won't really hear or see too much from this until either much later this year or even early next year.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Chronicle. That was one really under the radar, like low-key superhero movie, kind of with like almost a found footage type look to it. But I remember that was like young Michael B. Jordan, Dane DeHaan in there. That was one that I think I got it from Redbox back when, I know those are still a thing, but back when that was more of a thing. But
Rami Malek. I can't forget Rami Malek is also in Oppenheimer. So their cast is pretty wild. Oscar nominees, Oscar winners. Yeah, they got it all.
Well, that's the rest of our news, I think. So until we stitch in our podcast, whip it up together after our Super Bowl review of the reactions to all those trailers, that'll be coming in right here for you. And once that goes down, we will be talking about Marry Me. All right, Super Bowl is over and done with. Congratulations to the Rams. Devastating news for the Bengals. Heartbreak at the end. But it was a really, really good game that went well with the intense playoffs that we have had. But what we were treated to as movie fans was more than just a good football game, but we got a couple good surprises. First and foremost, let's talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We got a full trailer for that goes along with the little teaser that we got at the end of Spider-Man. Johnny, a lot to break down here. What was your biggest takeaway from this new trailer?
So most people, I mean, there's been two main things I think people have been hitting on with this, and that is, of course, Professor Xavier. Patrick Stewart seems to be returning, reprising his iconic role. We didn't see his face. We got maybe a little bit of his shoulder in one shot, but his voice.
It looked like a bald neck. We had like a very slight sliver of neck.
Sliver of neck. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. But you could definitely, I mean, his voice is just, I mean, no one else, you couldn't mistake it for anyone else. So we can confirm that cameo, and that seems to be one of more than a few we're getting. And that scene in particular, it looks like a lot of comic fans have pointed out that this looks like a meeting or a headquarters or a gathering of the Illuminati, which is a group in the comics that is like the ultra powerful on the planet. A lot of times that group can include the likes of Professor Xavier. It can include Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, Black Panther, T'Challa, which I'm not really counting on that being in this, with Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther 2 kind of in the air. And then, of course, also people have been speculating, apart from Reed Richards, people saying John Krasinski might be in this as Reed Richards. Tom Cruise as Tony Stark has been a big rumor or kind of fan cast idea. Everyone knows that they almost went forward with an Iron Man movie in the 90s where Tom Cruise was set to play Tony Stark. So it would be kind of a fun throwback to that idea. Now we can confirm there is some sort of Tony Stark or Iron Man-esque character because we see Ultron.
It seems like
bots.
I was going to say the Ultron type bot that I can't remember off the top of my head, the like terminology for this Tom Cruise Iron Man. It was like Ultimate Iron Man or something like that. And it's like the theory is that this is a variant of Superior, not Ultimate, my bad. Superior Iron Man is a variant of Iron Man of Tony Stark that was able to master the Ultron technology and like create what these things are, that it didn't go wrong and try and take over the world.
Yes, there is a little bit of menace to him. I think in at least one story, he like becomes president, and it's almost like a big brother sort of situation going on. So that could be interesting. And Tom Cruise, I feel like, could play that very well, even if it was for just a short scene in the movie. And then Namor is someone that was mentioned, and a lot of people know, or it's been rumored and kind of essentially confirmed that Namor and the Atlanteans will be making their debut in the MCU in Black Panther 2. So that's something that we could see, used there. And of course, we also know there's at least apart from our main Stephen Strange that we're all familiar with in the MCU, we know there's at least a couple different variants that we're going to see. There's that one there's the evil looking Doctor Strange who's wearing like almost all black and he looks that's from the What If show, from my understanding.
Basically, yeah.
And then there's also the one that has like the gray temples and he has like a strange like emblem on his chest.
And then there's the one in the statue.
And then additionally, there's that zombie looking Doctor Strange at the end of the trailer. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot, like, I don't want to say too much going on. I mean, who knows how this is all going to factor into an enticing and satisfying story and narrative, but there's a lot to digest. And then I feel like apart from the cameos and the multiversal craziness, is the other talking point has been the Sam Raimi visuals. Everything from the shot designs, the choices, the camera movements, the visual effect quality. I said this, I tweeted this as soon as the trailer dropped. I said, it looks like they might have actually let Sam Raimi cook, because these are some of the most enticing and surprisingly, fruitful visuals that we've seen in the entire MCU to date. And there's a number of callbacks to Sam Raimi's own visual style from, not only the Spider-Man movies, but his other films. So that was a very pleasant surprise. It doesn't look like the color grading is all gray and like cement looking.
Right. Lots of colors here.
Lots of colors popping, lots of three-dimensional movements, lots of fun, digital cameras flying all around the place. So I think that this could be fun. I think this could be good. It has a lot of potential. I mean, we could be looking at one of the very top MCU movies here. Really, the key is the writing, is the story, is the character work, and the balance all gonna, be satisfying? Is it gonna deliver overall?
I'm curious if after, how we were just absolutely like slopping up the cameos and everything in Spider-Man No Way Home, like it was fantastic and we all loved it. And
yeah,
I'm just curious, like, they know that we loved that. After that movie came out, there were reshoots for Doctor Strange. So like I don't know, like I feel like it's just gonna be exponential growth as far as like just continue, like, because Marvel like continuously tries to make everything bigger, everything better, and like continue to outdo themselves. And so like with something that's such a high as Spider-Man, like I don't want it, like I want selfishly, like I do want to like continue to slop that up, but at the same time, like I don't want to like go overboard with it, and like everything to just continuously be like a new peak and a new peak and a new peak. Like I want them to be great movies, but in like different ways, not just like more Easter eggs and spotting it. And like fans were, in addition to the trailer, we got a new poster as well. And it's got like that shattered glass look of like all of the different realities or whatever interpretation you have here. But like in some of the larger shards, there's more obvious stuff, like the different strangers that we saw, or Christine is back in the trailer, Rachel McAdams, who passed away in the first movie. Or no, sorry, she didn't pass away because it was in What If, where she died like 8,000 times in an episode. So maybe that twisted Sorcerer Supreme Strange, the evil one, is going to want this Christine because he lost his in the What If episode. But we haven't even talked about Scarlet Witch, about Wanda being in this as well. But in those shards, tons of Easter eggs that people think they have spotted, from a British flag on a shield. So are we getting Captain Carter, who is also in What If? People pointing out on one of the shards maybe the silhouette of Deadpool and his eyes, like that could be a way to introduce such like a random outlier of a character into these movies. I
mean,
Reed Richards as well, so I know you mentioned him earlier, but it could be like speculation that Tobey Maguire shot more Spider-Man scenes for this after No Way Home, or that could this be Andrew Garfield? Who knows? Like I'm excited for it, and this got me more excited. So it obviously did its job. I didn't even get to enjoy it while it was, I don't even know if I saw it during the actual Super Bowl. I saw it released like online, and I was at a party with multiple people, so I couldn't like sit down in a corner and analyze it. So I had to wait while you guys were all talking about it in the group, and it was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big one. This is definitely going to be one of the biggest films of the year, one of the most remembered trailers of the year. So we'll see how much more. We'll see if there's another trailer. We're about 3 months away at this point, a little less than 3 months away from the movie. So, but this is a big trailer, big, nice trailer to get out there before the Batman hits movie theaters. And this will be, I'm sure, in front of every IMAX and Dolby showing possible. So I'm looking forward to seeing it in that format. That should be fun. But yeah, other than that, I am pleasantly surprised, but I still have some trepidations that I'm nervous about. But I'm cautiously optimistic at this point.
I'm with you there. But on top of this big, gigantic, wonderful trailer, we also got a little TV spot, a little 30-second clip for Moon Knight coming to Disney Plus, not on the big screen, but not a ton to really break down here. I know we've already gotten a trailer for it, and this was just a little added bonus, I would say. Any takeaways here that stood out more than what we've already seen, or is it just more of the same?
Not really. I mean, it seemed fairly similar. I don't know. There's some new shots that I definitely recognized, including there's a really cool shot where he's jumping through the air and his cape is like in the shape of like a moon, like a crescent moon. So some cool effects there. And just him kind of like fighting and kind of out in the middle of the public doing some Moon Knighty stuff.
Some Moon Knighty.
But yeah, nothing crazy. I mean, just he looks cool. His design's cool. But nothing has changed for me. This doesn't change. It was just so short, and they didn't need to do much. I mean, they showed some more Ethan Hawke.
Right, we're a month. It's just March 30th, so we're just over a month away at this point. So it's not like, we don't need a ton more to tide us over until it's time. But I will say we did get the verdict that it's TV-14 rating. So all of that stuff that we've heard about, like this isn't going to hold back, this is going to be brutal and violent like the Moon Knight comics. We'll see. All of the other MCU TV shows have also been TV-14. So we'll see how much that
I don't think anyone should be
means.
expecting Netflix Daredevil levels of
this is not going to be Peacemaker.
No, definitely not.
One final trailer. I know we kind of already talked earlier in the podcast about Nope. We talked about Jurassic World. Those were some of the big ones that, if you weren't a movie fan like us dissecting online ahead of time, you would have been excited to see those during the broadcast. But the other one that was actually during the broadcast that was a new release is the trailer for the Lord of the Rings series. We got earlier in the week, we got the Vanity Fair first look with some photos, but we finally got the teaser trailer for the Rings of Power, which is the series coming in September. Johnny, I will defer to you as the bigger Lord of the Rings fan. What did this do for you? Is it getting you excited? Are you fired up for this, or was it a disappointment? Talk me through it.
I wasn't disappointed by this. I mean, I think it looks expensive. I mean, it looks as expensive as we've heard. Lots of very big sets, lots of very big effects, lots of impressive visuals, costumes, designs. We got a bunch of different glimpses at different characters. Hard to pin down like what kind of race. I mean, it looks like there's some elvish looking characters, some dwarvish looking characters. But it was very much a teaser. They didn't get into like really the story necessarily. This is really just an introduction to the world, a reintroduction rather. They're like, hey, remember Fellowship? Remember Return of the King? This is before all of that. So it's very much establishing it as a prequel, and just, trying to show off what it's going to bring visually to the table, trying to kind of usurp or kind of fill the void that was left by Game of Thrones as far as big prestige, big budget fantasy series goes. I see a lot of potential, but I'm still, the visuals and money can only take it so far. Like it really comes down to the writing. It comes down to the characters, the storyline. Are you invested? Do you care? And that's really, it's, we can't really judge especially based off this. Maybe a more in-depth trailer that goes into the story and into the characters and dialogue would give more of an idea. But this is definitely not going to do it. But visually, I was impressed, and I want to see more. I'm looking forward to seeing more. So again, cautiously optimistic, but we'll see.
There's definitely like you can tell the scale of it. Like you said, you can tell the cost and all of the different locations that we're looking at or settings that I will say we've been comparing it a lot to Game of Thrones just because it is, that the grand spectacle of fantasy on television. that this is going to be trying to fill that gap, but it's definitely seemed like lighter. You know, I mean, Lord of the Rings has some like epic battles and intense sequences and stuff, but this seemed like a bit more, I'm trying to find the right word. Like, it wasn't like childish by any means, but like, I don't know. It seemed like more like fairy fantasy kind of versus like the like
Fairy
dark
fantasy.
grit. Like,
Well,
I'm trying to,
that's
and
Lord
that's
of
just,
the Rings,
that's how
though.
Lord of the
I mean,
Rings is.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, Game of Thrones is very, Game of Thrones is supposed to be like the subversive outlier compared to these other like legacy fantasy franchises.
Yeah.
like Wheel
Yeah.
of Time
I'm
or-
curious, like for the people who are, you know, someone like me who isn't like a diehard Lord of the Rings fan, but is looking to fill that Game of Thrones void. I'm curious to see like how much this
Yeah.
actually wins them over. And I have a question for you, just having seen this, because I saw some people discussing this on Twitter, and their sentiment seemed to be that this looked more Hobbit than Lord of the Rings. So I'm curious if you have thoughts there, if this falls one way or the other for you.
I mean, visually, I mean, you're really never going to get Lord of the Rings again, are you? I mean, it's pretty damn hard in this day and age with all the new digital storytelling techniques that they have, visual effects and everything. I mean, I thought it looks like a good balance. I mean, there's definitely a lot of CG. I mean, that's just kind of par for the course with these types of things, but I think there's still a good level of craft to it. I thought it visually, it looked more appealing to me in a lot of ways. I think there was a fair amount where it looked like it was real. It didn't look like it was distinguishable green screen. Of course, you have the huge waterfall scene. That's going to be a lot of some green screen there and CG. But some of the other stuff I thought was very impressive. I thought the big monster was impressive. I thought that opening shot coming in on the boat was impressive. Maybe one of the differences, they're not really going to probably be using the miniatures as much as they used to be back in the day. It's going to be more of the CG matte paintings and the CG structures. But to me, I felt like it was it wasn't as good as Lord of the Rings, but I didn't think it was as bad as The Hobbit. It was more like an in-between, where you could see there's maybe some weaker points to it, but also some more impressive things as well. So again, we didn't get that many shots. We need to see more. One shot that really stood out that I thought looks fantastic was that very quick glimpse of them on the horses racing across that field.
With the mountains in the back.
Yeah, I mean, that was straight out of The Lord of the Rings. I mean, that looks fantastic. There was nothing like that
agreed.
in The Hobbit. Nothing like that in The Hobbit. So I think there's hyperbole all over the place. I mean, just naturally when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I think, again, I'm more in the middle. I'm keeping an open mind. I want to love it. And I think people that are looking to fill the Game of Thrones gap and are looking for something maybe more serious or more violent or dark, House of the Dragon is where you're going to get that.
Right,
filled.
we're getting that as well this year. So
House of the Dragon, that is really, if we're talking about filling the Game of Thrones gap, I mean, it's a Game of Thrones inspired. I mean, it's a part of that world. It's that show. So I think there's a lot of pressure on that show to deliver the goods. And I'm a little surprised that they didn't show anything last night, to be honest with you. I'm very curious as to when we're going to get the next trailer for that, because it's been a while since we've gotten that first teaser. I would assume we'll get it released.
Yeah, nothing there, nothing Obi-Wan like we were hoping for. No. So
Disney is shitting on Star Wars right now. So they're just fumbling shit tremendously in that franchise.
So let me, before we move on, let me ask you, including Nope, including Jurassic World, which I know is high on your list, from what we got overall Super Bowl spots, trailers, which one did it the most for you?
Oh, it has to be Nope, I think.
Agreed.
I thought Doctor Strange I think it looks pretty awesome, but I mean, Nope, it was seriously kind of keeping me up last night because I think someone in the group chat sent something about it, and then it popped the trailer open for me, and it was like playing, and there was like that eerie music and those visuals just like hitting me late at night, right as I'm trying to go to sleep. And then I put my phone down and I'm just sitting there like, oh God, like it's genuinely unsettling. Like I think this movie could be terrifying in some respects. So Jordan Peele, Get Out is it's a modern classic. This is a fantastic cast. That three-headed dragon we have with like Keke Palmer, Daniel Kaluuya, and Steven Yeun. I just can't wait to see this. And it's just so mysterious while still very much enticing you. So I'm all for it. I think Nope takes the cake, and Doctor Strange would be a close second.
I am exactly with you there. Well, there you have it. Super Bowl in the books. Time to move on. Continue back with our regularly scheduled programming and a review of Marry Me. It's time for Marry Me, the latest rom-com of 2022. Valentine's Day is right here. It is Valentine's is past by the time you're listening to this podcast, but I hope wherever you are, you and your boo had a special Valentine's Day and watched Marry Me, so that you can listen along to our podcast. Johnny, you and your boo did not watch it, but me and my boo did check out Marry Me, from J-Lo, Owen Wilson, Maluma, and Sarah Silverman. And of course, Game of Thrones, you're in your rewatch. John Bradley in that movie as well. Samuel Tarly. I was going to say not doing too hot, but it's mediocre. It's average. We're here with a 59% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, 93% audience score. So fans are loving it, but unfortunately this fan was not. I gave this 2 stars, 40 out of 100. It was all right. It had its moments. It had good music, but overall as a film, there were some issues that we'll get into here. But first, let's set the scene. Kat Valdez is half of the sexiest celebrity power couple on earth, with hot new music supernova Bastian, and the two are about to be wed before an audience of their fans in a ceremony that will be streamed worldwide. But when Kat learns seconds before the ceremony that Bastian has cheated on her with her assistant, her life turns left as she has a meltdown on stage, questioning love, truth, and loyalty, resulting in her marrying a stranger in the crowd, divorced high school math teacher Charlie Gilbert. What begins as an impulsive reaction evolves into an unexpected romance, but as forces conspire to separate them, the universal question arises. Can two people from such different worlds bridge the gulf between them and build a place where they both belong? Ah, that universal question we all ponder. You know, this movie, I am a sucker for rom-coms. I love a good rom-com, even if it's cheesy, you know, even I'm not going to stoop to the level of like a Hallmark romantic comedy, but you know, those early 2000s rom-coms, I've seen quite a few of them. I enjoy it. You know, they're even tropes and all, you know, all of those typical stereotypes of these movies. I was very excited to see this movie. When I saw the trailer, I saw it for the first time. I don't remember what movie it was, but Rebecca and I were together and they were playing the trailers and we saw it and I kind of like chuckled along at it. Like, this looks dumb. This looks silly. And then we both looked at each other and we're like, I want to see that. So even knowing like how ridiculous it was, I was still excited. And that was mainly because this seemed very much, you know, you've got some great recent romantic comedies. One of the favorites being like Long Shot, you know, that from a couple of years ago, Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. It was a rom-com, but like a new modern twist on it. You had still the same romance and comedy, but it wasn't like cliched or with the tropes. But this, I was excited for it because it seemed like, okay, we know we're in 2022. We don't care that we're in 2022. We're just going to make a movie from 2004 and put it on the big screen. And I was like, okay, I'm here for it. Let's do it. And while there are certainly elements of that, number one being the crazy plot, you know, superstar marries random stranger in the crowd. They've got the unlikely couple, the music star and the divorced middle-aged single father who is a math teacher. Couldn't be more different. Unlikely pairing. We'll find a way to make them fall in love. And then they've got like their meddling sidekicks, you know, his best friend, her manager and assistants. Those boxes are all checked, but this also is not subtle whatsoever when it does try and prove that it's 2022. It tries very hard to like say something, to have this bigger message. about, you know, romance, about women in the music industry, how they're treated differently. Like it is saying stuff that is like valid, but the way that it goes about saying it is like, it's not saying it, it's shouting it. There's no subtlety. Everything is very like flat out stated or on the nose. So those messages could have been handled a little bit better. But I will say the music slaps. There's some bangers, but despite that, the way that they present it is flawed, because at times it felt like I was watching a music video or like I was watching like a concert movie, because it's not just in the background. There were like full on like 3-minute performance sequences. Like at the concert, before they have like the marriage and everything goes wrong, she sings like 2 full songs. And then there's like another sequence where she sings a couple songs. And then there are some that are like, oh, there's one where she's in the recording studio and sings like half of a song. So this movie was almost 2 hours, and I'd say probably like 30 minutes of it were musical sequences. So while they were good songs, it seemed like it was competing back and forth between, is this a movie or is this a music video? Like this was actually adapted from a graphic novel and turned into a movie, but it felt like it was adapted as like some activation, some campaign to promote a new J-Lo album. And the director of the movie is actually someone that J-Lo has worked with on music videos. So that kind of makes sense, but it just didn't work very well in the sense that this was first and foremost meant to be a film. But still, like I said, it has its moments. Owen Wilson and J-Lo have some genuine chemistry, and they're like enjoyable to watch them like go back and forth and fall in love and go through the tropes of these movies, you know, the getting to know each other stage, the setback where they think they question everything that they know, and then the ultimate reconciliation. So, you know, it wasn't horrible, but it could have been a lot better than what I was hoping for. So bit of a bummer there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on any questions that you want to know more about this delightful film, but
you know,
hit me if you've got them.
Honestly, a little. Well, the audience score is quite high, and generally,
I'm surprised by that.
You fall in line with the general audience more often than not, I would say, and that's where kind of a lot of our disagreements maybe stem from. But watching the trailer for this, I couldn't avoid it. I had to see it when I watched Scream. They played it, and honestly, I didn't think it was the worst trailer in the world. I didn't think it was like terribly stupid looking or like dull. I thought it was like a silly concept that could be made into something maybe fun between J-Lo and Owen Wilson, who are both fairly likable or like entertaining. So yeah, I'm a little surprised. I guess overall, just my general feeling is a little just surprised of how low you are on the film compared to like basically what I saw from the trailer and the audience score.
I'm curious. I feel like, you know, not to the same extent as like a Lady Gaga or something, but like J-Lo has her fan base that would go out and support Owen. I mean, it's 2 likable people on a big screen movie. You don't get a ton of these like studio rom-coms necessarily anymore. So, and there's a huge audience of people who are totally fine with something that has the issues that I've mentioned and aren't necessarily like, you know, they want those movies from the early 2000s, or they want to just like go and have a good time and see that. And so I can see, I guess, for someone who's maybe looking less critically and just wants to be entertained. But I was surprised. I thought that the audience score would maybe be like 70s or something like that, but 93 is very high. So I'm glad that many people are enjoying this that much. I'm just sad that I wasn't able to join them.
Well, I'm weeping for you.
I can tell. I can hear it in your voice. Well,
hey, you win some, you lose some. It's that time of year.
It is that time of year, and soon we will be winning with the Batman. That's on the horizon. But until then, we are suffering through with a few highs and a few lows. But that's our episode. That is everything. What a jam-packed episode, from the Oscars to the Super Bowl to news to Marry Me. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the support week in and week out. We truly appreciate it, and we would not be able to do it all without you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much again for tuning in, supporting not only the pod, but our social media channels and the website. To keep up with all of our info, stay up to date on everything inside the film room, please give us a follow on Twitter. You can keep up with our giveaways, our polls, all the good memes. Got some Valentine's Day, stuff cooked up for you. Instagram as well. Like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. We do post the episodes there as well, and you can find those accounts at Inside Film Room.
And while you are at it, there's plenty more to do. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. You can subscribe on our website, on our social media pages, and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio. We are there if they have podcasts. And come back next week. We will be diving into a video game adaptation, taking on Uncharted and Tom Holland. We will see you then.